Thank you so much for taking the time to review this presentation about the job search and interview preparation. My name is Chris Whitney, and I'm the Director of the Center for Career Development located in Chiswick Hall.
And my name is Julie Leist. I am the Employer Services Specialist in the Center for Career Development. We have laid out a few steps to help you through your job and internship search. First is to make a game plan. Second is to prepare your job search tools. Then you target the industries and organizations that interest you, and then we're going to have you apply for the listed jobs and follow up with those organizations. And most importantly, you want to stay organized.
We're going to start off with your game plan. It's really important for you to start thinking about where you want to go, what you want to do, and many times it's easiest to talk about that with somebody who has gone through it with a lot of students in the past. So we strongly encourage you to stop by or make an appointment with one of the career counselors in the Center for Career Development. We're more than happy to go over any of these topics with you to make sure that you have a clear idea of where you want to go and how you want to get there.
Our next step is to prepare your job search tools. So this includes a completed resume and cover letter that you can prepare and customize according to the industry and position that you're applying for. So it's really important that you go and look at the job description that is posted on the website and make sure you're catering your resume and your cover letter to that specific job. It'll make you stand out and make you seem like a great fit for the organization.
There are a couple of different things to take into consideration when you're trying to identify an opportunity to apply for, whether it's an internship or a full-time position. These are some things that you can take into consideration that are going to make sure that it's a fit for you.
After doing all of your research and preparing your specific job tools, we will have you apply for the job. And how you're going to go about that is to search the company website for the specific job or internship that you're looking for, and then utilize the different resources that we have available all over the internet. So we will go over a few different websites that you can use to search for those specific postings. After you apply and submit your resume, we'll have you follow up with that organization.
I think follow-up is really a key in this whole process. You can send out a resume, you can send out an application, but really it's about how do you let them know that you're truly interested. And follow-up is the way to do that. We'll talk more about that in a minute.
And finally, our last tip is to stay organized. So definitely keep track of the organizations that you've applied for. Maybe create an Excel spreadsheet or even just a notebook where you look at the organizations you spoke to, the positions you applied for, any contact information you have, anyone that you've spoken to that works at the organization, and definitely the dates and times that you applied and spoke to those contacts.
It sounds like a lot of information, but it really is very important to maintain the organization in this process. Sometimes people say that the job search itself seems like a full-time job because you're researching, you're applying, you're following up, so on and so forth. So it is really time-consuming, but at the end, it'll have a major payoff. There are a lot of different resources that we have. Many of them you'll find links to them on our website, which is scranton.edu/careers.
So there are two different job markets that we take a look at. One is the visible job market. This includes all the websites and resources that you can go on and visibly see the job and internship postings that are laid out there for you and that you can apply for. So one specific site, for example, that we really enjoy is simplyhired.com. So on that website you can go on, search for the type of job or internship that you're looking for, and then use specific filters to find, the location or the type of organization that you're interested in. If you want a specific culture in an organization, you can use those filters to be more specific.
I think one of the examples, Julie, that you gave us I thought was really cool is that you could even search a company that is dog friendly. So if you want to take your dog to work, that's definitely a website where you'd be able to find the organization that would fit your needs.
Yes, I definitely loved that filter specifically. Secondly is the hidden job market. So these are the jobs that are out there that aren't specifically posted, aren't right out there for you to see or to apply to very quickly. This includes a target list of organizations that you may want to work for, any networking or contacts that you have that you met at an alumni event, or even just through family friends. And finally, looking at the LinkedIn network, going onto LinkedIn, going onto that alumni finder and searching for those alumni that work at the organizations that you want to look into, and and finally reaching out to them and connecting with them on LinkedIn.
Yeah, one thing I like to share with people is when we're talking about the hidden job market, there are a couple of things to take into consideration. Donald Asher, who is an author in the job market, job search, and career coaching world, says that the best time to get a job is 2 weeks before it's posted. And really what that's about is knowing people inside of the organizations that you're interested in, knowing alumni who work there, knowing professionals who work there already, and then more importantly, they know you. So when an opportunity is about to come up or has already come up, they can reach out to you and say, hey, Julie, I really think that you should apply for this. I think it would be a great match to your skills. So make sure you apply and let me know when you do. That's really how the network can assist you throughout the process, and it's really beneficial. When we talk about College Central Network, this is a resource for the University of Scranton students and alumni. All of the opportunities, whether it's a part-time job, an internship, a co-op, a full-time job, volunteer work, whatever kind of opportunity it is that we become aware of, this is where we put it. So anytime that you're interested in what do we know about, what opportunities are available, what can you apply for right now, it's going to be on College Central Network. You see the web address right there, collegecentral.com/Scranton, and you'll log in as a student. That's where you can also upload your resumes and apply for jobs very, very easily that way.
The good news is you got the interview, but now what should you do? Don't worry, we're here to help. First, we always say preparation is key, so make sure you research the company that you're interviewing at. Especially if you just applied to a bunch of different jobs at once, you want to make sure you're keeping track of who you're talking to and who you're interviewing with. So go onto the internet, do some research, find out what they're all about, read their mission statement, and definitely know who you're talking to when you go in. We're also going to go over what to wear to an interview, what to do in an interview, and what you bring to an interview.
When you're going to do your research, there's a lot of different ways that you can look into what the company is all about and whether or not you're going to fit with the company. Really, alumni or professionals who are in the various organizations, or particularly in the industry right now, they are amazing resources for this information. You can really find out what the culture is all about. What is it like transitioning into this position? They say that there are 2 types of orientation or onboarding when you get a new job, and that's what's written, what you get in the manuals, what you get in all of the policy, so on and so forth. But then there's the unwritten culture. What is it all about? How do people conduct themselves? What are the people like? That's the kind of research that you really want to do. Glassdoor.com, that's glassdoor.com, is a great resource to find out what some organizations are about. People can anonymously go in and give you information about the interview process, about the culture of the firm, about the pay scales, and all sorts of information like that. So that's one good resource. There are many others.
In addition to that, we always say to check out the employer's website. So go on to www.employername.org and read the mission statement, read the About Us section. This will definitely lay out what their goals are, what their culture is like, basically what they're looking for in the long term, and this will help you be a little bit more knowledgeable for when you go into your interview. Also check out some industry literature and publications. So that includes finding out what the trends are, find out what the challenges the industry is facing. Just doing your research so you sound like you know what's going to be happening in the future while you're working there. And of course, there's always Google. Go in, search for the name, see what customers are saying about the organization, see what employees are saying about the organization. That'll definitely give you some insight into what they're all about as well.
And one piece of advice I like to give when you're doing the Google search is go to like the 4th and 5th page of the Google search, because many companies spend a lot of money to optimize the good stuff in the Google search. So the first 5 items that come up on the Google search are there on purpose. Those are all the really positive pieces of information that they're pushing out. So I like to just say, dig a little bit deeper, think about it, and when you get all of this information, this is the type of stuff that you can talk about when you're in your interview, because then that lets them know that you believe you're a fit for the organization, and hopefully they'll agree with you and think you're a fit as well. When you get to the interview, there are 3 things that you really truly need to take into consideration when you're answering your questions with them or having a conversation with them. And it's these 3 questions: why you, why this, why us. Why you is, why are you unique? Why are you interesting? Why are you the candidate that should stand out? Many of the people that you are competing against for this position could have the very same degree, could have many of the same experiences, but what about you is different? I know that all of the students here in particular are very unique. You do a lot of service or volunteer work, or perhaps you're an athlete or a tutor, or you've done specific research. What is it about you that's interesting? Next, the why this industry? Why have you chosen this career path? And it's important to really have a reason for that. Maybe you've never thought about it before, but think about it now. Why are you in this industry? Why have you chosen this major? Why have you chosen to apply for a position in this industry? The why us is specific to the employer, the people that you are applying with or interviewing with. Why do you want to work for that company? What is it about that company that entices you, that tells you that you would be successful there? So why you, why this, why us? Those are the 3 important questions that you need to make sure to answer. And many times you can do that right in the very first question when they tell you, or they ask you, tell me about yourself. And you get a chance to tell them a little bit about why you're unique, why you've chosen this path, and why you'd like to work for them.
Next, we'll be going over what to wear to an interview. Remember, you only have one chance to create a powerful first impression. You can show how professional you are through your dress, so you definitely want to dress for success and show them right off the bat that you're a good professional fit for this organization.
The guidelines for women, it's kind of funny because the guidelines haven't really changed since 1955. It's about conservative as opposed to trendy, which is really something that has maintained throughout the years. The best way to think about this is that you don't want someone to remember you for what you're wearing, or you'll notice the no perfume, or how you smell. You want them to remember you for what you've said, what you're bringing to the table, what your experiences are. So it's really important to think about some of these suggestions that we're giving and put your best foot forward. Make sure that the impression that you're making is based on what you're saying. A couple of things I want to point out. One is the shoes. For women, make sure that you are comfortable in the shoes, that you can walk in them. So you don't want super high shoes. You don't want shoes that are very uncomfortable that you haven't walked in before. Jewelry, that is something that you really want to keep to a minimum, and make sure that it's quiet. Sometimes we could wear one bracelet, but it's a very loud bracelet, so we still want to take that into consideration.
Guidelines for men, it's kind of the same idea that conservative is always better. You don't want to distract from what you're saying by wearing something that is just bright and distracting. So we always recommend a 2-piece dark colored business suit, a light or white colored shirt, and a contrasting tie. You don't want to wear a white tie on a white shirt. It's just not the classiest way to go into an interview. The shoes are also very important. Make sure that they are shined and polished and that they match your suit. They're dark colored, they're not distracting from the professional image, and they kind of say that you thought through your outfit and made sure that you looked professional even down to your toes. We also say make sure your hair and facial hair are trimmed and groomed. They also don't want to distract from your face and what you're saying to the employer. We recommend little or no cologne because that is definitely a distractor when you're in an interview, especially if the interview is taking place in a smaller room. It'll fill up the room and kind of really take away from what you're saying. And finally, we say conservative or simple jewelry and no earrings.
You know, and let's think about real quickly the facial hair concept. It's really important for you to understand the industry that you're going into. There are certain industries that really frown upon facial hair at all. There are studies out there that say sometimes facial hair is not trustworthy. Very interesting study, but it's out there. So take that into consideration. And when you're doing your industry research, find out what some of the acceptable practices are. Another little tip, little fashion tip, if you will, for your shoes should match your belt. So if you're wearing brown shoes, you should wear a brown belt. Black shoes, black belt. It's always nice to give you a visual, so some examples for you to take a look at and really see what we're talking about. Now, the young lady all the way to the left, she is business professional. You'll notice the closed-toed shoes. It's not a real high heel. It is a skirted suit with a white blouse underneath, and her hair is very conservative, not falling in her face. You know, when we're talking about hair, one thing I want you to take into consideration, particularly for the young women, is that if you are a tucker, which means that if you, while you're talking to people, or your hair falls over your shoulders, if you're constantly tucking it behind your ear or pushing it over your shoulders, that could be very distracting in an interview. So become self-aware and know if you have these little idiosyncrasies to take into consideration. Same young lady, but one step over in business casual. You can see in business casual, this is where you can get a little bit more fashion forward. You can have a little bit more of your own personality come out, but still being very conservative and professional so that it's not distracting. And then, of course, we have the young man right next to her, moving to the right, business professional, looks fantastic. I love that he even has a little lapel pin on there. I'm sure that it's a University of Scranton lapel pin. And then, of course, business casual. You'll notice that business casual is still a tie. Sometimes you can go without the tie, but typically it's still a tie with a buttoned shirt and no jacket. And then you can have slacks instead of suit pants.
What to do when you have your interview. So first you want to make sure you know where the interview is taking place. Take notes when the recruiter calls you and lets you know where it's happening. Make sure you do a Google Maps search and see how to get there from wherever you're coming from. So maybe do a test drive the day before so that you know where you're going. The last thing you want is to be late because you're driving around and you don't know where the interview is happening. We also recommend that you come to the interview 5 to 10 minutes early. You don't want to be too early because it will kind of just pressure the employer into getting you in and out quickly, but you also don't want to be late. So always try and aim to be 5 to 10 minutes early. When the employer comes out to meet you, make sure you stand up and introduce yourself, make eye contact with he or she, make sure you have a strong handshake, and of course smile. You want to show that you have a personality. And while you're in the interview, watch your body language. You want to sit up straight and continue to make eye contact.
But you want to make sure that your eye contact isn't like staring at them, that you look away, that it feels more natural. I know sometimes nerves get into the middle of that, but that's why we also strongly encourage you to practice this. Come to the Center for Career Development, have a mock interview, use Big Interview, which is an online mock interviewing program that you can access through our website, which is scranton.edu/careers. But these are the types of things that you want to practice and you want to be prepared for. What should you bring with you for the interview? You definitely want to make sure that you have extra copies of your resume, and you can put them on the pretty paper. This is the ivory colored cotton-based paper, not necessarily the copy paper like you would get out of a printer or a copy machine. A couple of reasons why we use that paper. You use that paper because it's a softer, depending on what kind of lighting they have in their offices, it's a softer look, so of course it's not going to give them a headache. We never want to give an interviewer a headache. You want to have the extra copy so that in case there's anybody in the room that joined the interview that doesn't have your resume in front of them, then you can look very prepared and hand them a copy of it. A portfolio or a padfolio is one of those leather-bound typically or leather-like books that has a pad of paper and a pen inside of it. And then on the left side, it typically has room where you can store your resume copies. But making sure to have that pad and paper with you, and that's also where you can write down your questions. What questions do you have for them? Now, people always ask me then, what questions should I ask? And my answer to that is, what do you want to know? What do you want to know about the company? What do you want to know about their training program? What do you want to know about their mentoring program, or their onboarding, or their orientation? What is it that you want to know? And many times, because we know that you took our advice and you've been talking to alumni who work for the firm, they can also give you some tips about things that you can ask and really look into to make sure that this is a great opportunity for you. Asking questions at the end of an interview lets them know that you're vested in the process, that you're really interested in the position, and you're not just going through the motions. It's really important to have at least 3 questions prepared, no more than 5.
Some tips for when you're answering questions in the interview. First, always use real stories and real examples. Don't make up any stories. You can always tell when someone is making up a story or making up an example, because it just doesn't seem genuine. They don't have all the details, and it's definitely a better way to show examples of your skills. Tell a story about the time you worked as a cashier and worked with a customer. Even if there's something from a summer job, it's definitely a great way to show that you have people skills or have had challenging experiences, and it's just a great way to show what you've learned. Next, always breathe. Take the time to think about what your answers will be. It's okay to say, that is a great question, let me take a minute to think about that, and to really put together a well thought out response. As Chris mentioned, always ask questions. It's a great way to show your interest. And when the interview is complete, make sure you thank the interviewers. Say thank you for your time, shake their hand, and follow up with a written thank you or email.
You know, with a handshake, that's something that I strongly encourage students to practice. Practice the handshake so that it feels natural, so that when you extend your hand to greet somebody, that you don't feel weird, you don't feel uncomfortable. So practice your handshake and make sure that your handshake is firm and effective and professional. To quickly go over the interview tips, we want you to dress appropriately, arrive in good time, be mindful of your body language. What is that saying to the person who's interviewing you? Expect the unexpected, and that really is very important. Go through some mock interviews, have people throw questions at you that you may not have prepared for in the past, and then finally make sure that you ask questions of your interviewer.
So this concludes our presentation. We just want to give you the information for our office. We are the Center for Career Development, and we're located in Chiswick Hall, which is up next to the Wellness Center on the corner of Mulberry and North Webster. So our hours are Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 4:30, and you can always make an appointment with us by calling the number 570-941-7640.
And I strongly encourage you to go to our website, which is scranton.edu/careers. A lot of the information that Julie and I talked about, and a lot of the information that we referenced, is going to be found there on our website. Thanks so much for taking the time to listen to this. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon.